Now, ladies and gentlemen, to present the second successful example of co-created academies, Axis Bank and IIT Academy of Relationship and Wealth Management. Please welcome Satish Krishnamurthy, Executive Vice President and Head, Private Premium Banking and Third-Party Products, Axis Bank India, in conversation with Gaurav Nigam, Senior Vice President, Enterprise Business, BFSI and IIT Limited. Over to you, Gaurav.
Gaurav, you're on mute.
Thank you so much, Dilip. I guess we just had a great session where Anand spoke about multiple things. And welcome, Satish. Looking forward for a great fireside chat with you. Thanks, Dilip. Okay, good morning, all, and welcome to the second session of this fireside chat. And we just had a very, very insightful one right now. And we also just heard from Bill Pelster talking about how the role a corporate academy can play in building skills and talent. In banking space as well, like we just heard Randstad on the IT side of it, and banking space as well, a huge name, Axis, and we have tied up with one of the best banking partner across in the country. In this digitization era, we are in era where we are seeing a lot of this workforce becoming more flexible and agile. I think Axis and NIT Academy of Relationship is obsessed to create talent frameworks for their employees. To talk about the same, I would want to introduce Satish, who is the man behind all of this creation. Welcome, Satish. And he's been a career banker with decades of rich banking experience spread across consumer banking, cards, corporate sales, business banking, sales and distribution products, pretty much everything in retail bank, I guess. In last year, he has built Burgundy. Burgundy is Axis premium and private banking offering to over a $22 billion of asset under management. I think that's one of the biggest across the country and making not just this particular unit the fastest growing one in the bank, but also in the industry. Prior to this, let me just introduce, he had spent almost 13 years with Citibank, again, held multiple leadership positions across various segments. Satish was also part of Fortune India's 40 under 40 in 2016, which technically tells about your age, Satish. And also in business today, he was rated as hottest executive in corporate sector. He's a director in FIAI, which is why the education link comes in, where FIAI is India's financial distributor body working towards strengthening the cause, development, education, and progress of the wealth management industry. Thank you so much, Satish, once again for this session and taking time out.
Thank you. Very good morning to you, Gaurav, and to everyone at NIT, all my friends there, and to all the audience. So looking forward to this fireside chat, Gaurav.
Sure. So, Satish, like we know, and this is all about learning. We just heard Randstad, as in Anand, we heard Bill. The learning environment has completely changed. You know, there was a time when we used to sit on the table watching those PowerPoint presentations for hours, and that's how the learning was. And in the modern learning environment, I think everything is completely skill-based. Acquisition is and technology is there at every step. Books would have been replaced by phones, tabs. People need quick information, and thanks to Google, everything is just available right in there. We've also seen one great change where we are talking about while in sales there's a point of sale, and in technology it's like point of need, right? If I need this learning, then only I will take it because everything is available and you have enough and more platforms talking about it. And to me as well, learning is a continuous exercise. It makes me more relevant, give me new ideas, perspective. So wanted to check what, according to you, is learning. What is your philosophy, you and your bank as well, the outlook towards learning?
Yeah, I think, Gaurav, you asked, I think learning, to my mind, is the single biggest differentiator between great organizations and organizations who end up struggling for, solving customers' needs and requirements. It is very important. I mean, the most important learning as a business person you need to have is to really learn what customer truly want, right? And that the learning has to happen on a daily basis. Every interaction with the customer has to be a learning, right? So my personal philosophy of towards learning is that learning does not end when you finished your let's say your undergrad and postgrad, but it kind of begins even more in terms of reality alignment to what works in the real world. So I think it's super critical that you need to be very curious about what it takes to succeed in your business on a daily basis. Every day you wake up, I think it's important to ask yourself, what are the three things that I've learned more which can help me succeed uniquely? And especially very true of a services industry when you speak from a bank standpoint. Unlike, let's say, industries like mobile phones, televisions, where the product becomes the key differentiator, right? Here, in a services industry, it is the people and the experience that they are able to deliver for customers that differentiates the entire game. So I think it's important that one looks at people as the strategic asset, right, in our business. And from an Axis Bank standpoint, we are very, very aware that our people are our single biggest asset, right? So we do everything possible to equip them with the right skills, the right attitude, and in this post-COVID world, the right digital infra, right? Are they having access to the right devices? Are they able to connect with customers? Are they able to link up with all the regulatory websites, for example, and make business happen in a very seamless fashion? So I would say that becomes very important. The other important thing is reinforcement of values on a daily basis, right? Your behavior at every level, leadership, right from Amitabh all the way down, everybody living the value system of Axis Bank, right? We have this they'll say open philosophy. So being open to serving to the best of our abilities at all times and to practice business with the highest levels of integrity and respect. So I think those are some of the important values that we stand for. And we try and inculcate that in all our learning sessions with all our employees as well.
So while I hear you and I get to it, because if you want to get to that level which you are already at in Axis, I think Axis will be focusing a lot more on learning. But at the same time, now you already have an existing setup of learning management, which was, as in Raj is managing it and completely with Sharmishta and everyone. Now, why do you think there was a need for creating a separate learning academy for wealth management? What do you think there was a need or around it, frankly?
Yeah, I think great question, Gaurav. So the reason we decided to embark on this journey of not only looking inside out, right? I think it's important to have an outside-in perspective as well. And when we thought of the right partnerships with whom we can collaborate and create a learning journey, NIIT naturally came to our mind and attention, and we said we should co-create a learning curriculum. That's one of this piece. The other critical piece is that what we find is India is a country with a lot of talent, right? It's important for us to tap that talent, not by just looking at employees from competitors, right, which is what is the conventional approach, but to create talent for banks fresh, right? So there are so many bright young people who are passing out from various colleges, but they do not have the skills to be a banker right off that campus. So we therefore decided that it makes sense to look at a curriculum which is custom designed, co-created, knowing what works in the real world, applying the academic knowledge and combining the two. So I think that pretty much is the essence of why we have embarked on this learning academy journey.
So, so frankly, while like I said, they'll say open wala culture and getting the freshers to be trained as a deputy manager level, joining at a wealth management kind of thing. But do you think at the same time, the role of an RM, like we are talking about a wealth management and hence we're talking about RM, the role of an RM is genuinely getting changed a lot. what it was maybe 9 months back or a year back, when we were technically talking face to face with the customer, talking and telling and sharing the product ideas and the propositions. Now it's everything is happening virtually, right? And there's a lot of reskilling need, and you yourself have developed these programs around it, and we have co-created of it. But do you think would post this pandemic, and now since the good news is out there that the vaccines are out, do you think that it will go back to the same face-to-face meeting, or the virtual world will continue post-pandemic for these RM
No,
and the reskilling for that perspective?
yeah, so I would say, look, the pandemic, which is clearly a once in a century event, has made decisive changes to the
Yeah.
behavior of human beings at large. That's the reality, right? I don't think some things are going to go back to how it used to be, right? For example, the effectiveness of tech devices, right? Using these mobile devices, iPads, and whatever else you have. Uh, Leveraging those devices to conduct business is very much here to stay. It
Yeah.
drives great economies. So very clearly, that's not going to go out anywhere. Now, what's changed, I would say, over the last 5 years in terms of expectations of customers from relationship managers is that what was good enough earlier is not good enough. So, to give you an example, I mean, a relationship manager in the past may have got away with just, facilitation of documentation in a way, right? Customer knows exactly what I want to buy, right? The relationship manager is a person who would facilitate that transaction by doing the paperwork. Now, imagine in this era, most transactions can be done within a click of a few uh, taps on the device, right?
Yeah.
So a relationship manager who is still in that old era is not going to be able to add value. So what then drives value, right? First is, and I put it in terms of three I's, which I think are very relevant to a lot of these conversations. One is you need an RM who I can trust, right? Which means integrity. So the relationship manager, how does he demonstrate integrity? Everything that he does with me as a customer, which means that he shows up on time. He will honor his word, right? If he tells me he's going to get something done within a particular time frame, it gets done. So that's one critical aspect of things. The second critical aspect is the intellect, which means that uh, is he adding value in terms of making me aware of products that I was not aware of, right? Helping me understand the benefits of the product and applying intellect in a way that I'm able to plan for my financial goals, whatever they may be, right? So customers may have needs for their education for their kids, right? It could be for a medical requirement for their some of their family members, right? It could be a vacation plan for somebody else, and so on, right? So a relationship manager therefore needs to be a very uh, thinking person, right? An ability to correlate which product of the bank is relevant to for which financial goal. So I think that becomes very important. That's the what shall I say, the intellect aspect of the second eye, and the third eye is to be able to wear the hat of an innovator
Yeah.
at all times. People assume that innovation happens only from innovation labs, right? And there are specialized departments for innovation. What I would like to believe is that innovation can happen from anyone. It can happen from the teller, it can happen from the CSO, the customer service officer who we have, or from the relationship manager. It's about the creativity that you bring to your job on a daily basis, right? And sometimes some of these changes can have huge cost saves for the bank. So those would be the three I's that we stress on. And I think those would be the I's in terms of the skills that would be very relevant for skilled bankers in the years ahead as well.
So frankly, Satish, this is one of those interesting points I just heard. One is from a perspective that you rightly said that now it's going to be virtual platform where you are actually selling products, majority of your products. Then earlier versus the earlier approach where the person was going and meeting them, the RM. Now, is it safe to say that earlier it was more of a product push mandate or a perspective discussion that, okay, earlier, this is a great product. I will have that discussion with the customer. The product suits the needs. While I will have those needs portfolio analyzed and all of that, but I will still push the product. But now in a virtual world, when you are sitting here and you have information everywhere, the client can see it across, then it's more important that the advisory based selling and the need based selling is far more critical, and hence the reskilling of all those RMs are far more needed now. Is it safe to say?
Yeah, it is. Naturally, what's happened is over the last 2 decades, if you look at the evolution of the financial services industry, right?
Yeah.
Products are getting very richer, right? There is a lot of, for example, 15 years ago, people may not have been too familiar with structured products, portfolio management services, AIMS. As an example, I'm telling you just from a wealth management spectrum, right? There are so many innovations that banks have and fintechs have delivered in terms of products like deposits, banks particularly, right? Ability to buy deposits just seamlessly through their mobile apps and so on. So very clearly, and all that information is available to customers on their internet banking or their mobile app. So the earlier gap that existed was customers were not even as aware of these products. Now that awareness is very much there ab initio, right? Customers to begin with know all of that. So
Yes.
it's very important then that a relationship manager uh, recognizes that the customer is already well aware not only of what bank A brings to the table, but what does bank B bring to the table, bank C bring to the table, and so on, right? And there are websites, platforms, fintechs who are disrupting the industry by putting comparisons for easy comparison of products from the various institutions, right? In fact, even from NBFCs at times.
Yes.
So all of that information is very much available. So the role of banking partners, the relationship managers, becomes effectively helping customers make that choice, right? By applying the right financial acumen, right? The knowledge that the RM has. He understands the principles of compound interest, which products have the best IRR, what are the risk return trade offs, right? What should be some of the taxation related items that the customer needs to be made aware of, right? Now, these are skills that the relationship manager needs to be equipped with, right? I'll give you another example. NRI customers typically are not present in India, so they need to be handheld even more in terms of their taxation related requirements, for example. So all of these move towards what is more uh,
Yes.
consultative selling, right? So that's the way it is headed more and more, and nobody can be left behind in terms of leveraging the tech tools. So it's very
Yeah.
important that your RMs are also well aware of how to use these various devices, right? And one of
Right.
the big bets that we are taking is why should the bank or any institution impose the kind of device that the RM or an employee of the bank wants to use? So the concept of bring your own device, right?
Yeah.
You bring your own device. There are infosec firewalls that can be built in those devices, and you get access to that information, right?
Yes.
And you pretty much then are positioned to do business on the go at any time and at all times. So I think that's the power of the change that we are going through right now.
Yes. That brings to my last question, and before we open it for the Q&A, Satish, which is a very prominent one and an important one for me as well, as what are your expectations from NIIT, from this learning academy? While we have
Yeah,
partnered, we are co-creating a lot of this content and development, doing all of this with you. But then, in all, because this is a long partnership, and we only would want to scale it up. So, what are those main 3 or 4 expectations?
yeah. So firstly, with a brand like NIT, I think it's such a proud Indian brand. We expect nothing but the best in terms of an ability to groom talent, right? And in a way that that skill stays with them for their life, right? So the core ethos that we are trying to build is: are we creating professionals who would stand the test of time, right? So our first expectation very clearly is that NIIT is able to leverage the power of its entire ecosystem in terms of great teachers, great technology aids, great access to material, the curriculum material, great combination of applying that knowledge in the real world through internships, for example, right? So our expectation as an institution is that all the talent that go through the NIIT filtering process and the learning process will emerge very prepared for this modern era, right? Or this very super modern era, whereby you are expected to be strong, from a tech usability standpoint. Nothing should frighten you. Your ability to uh, converse very intelligently with customers who are typically elder to you, who are clearly more experienced to you. You need to have the right repertoire of skills to be able to handle such a class C customer base. So it's very important that relationship managers come out of this academy with an ability to handle customers of that stature. And like I said, I think we need to also imbibe in them the behavioral traits, the attitudes, and the value system that we always stand by in terms of integrity, making sure that we live the Dil Se Open credo of the bank, right? And I think uh, from NIT we expect top drawer professionalism because the world is headed very clearly to a gig economy where people may not choose to be career bankers like I did, right? I've already spent 2 decades as a banker, intend to spend a few more decades for sure as a banker. So I think that era is changing. If I were to talk to youngsters today, they are far more open-minded about what they like to do. They have a much higher streak of experimentation. So recognizing that, it's important to be aware of that. At the same time, how do we leverage that as a strength of adaptability and make them prepared for the real world? I think that would be our expectation out of this NIT partnership. And I'm very excited about the journey that we have commenced on. I'm sure, great things will happen. We will identify some extremely bright talent out of this curriculum. So it's going to create future leaders. The leaders of tomorrow will come out of this. So that is my expectation out of this program.
Which is true. In fact, we also want to make this as a role model for us as well. While I'm getting a lot of these questions, and I think in the interest of time, I'll just take one or two at best, Satish. One question is from Utkarsh. He's asking that post-pandemic is banking as a sector. This is more of an industry-wide question. Banking as a sector is gonna grow or maybe take a pause for a year or two from an expansion perspective, and then take it over after 2 years or 3 years as an industry.
Yeah, I think banking tends to be a great reflection of the overall economy, right? Banks do well if the economy is doing well, right? It's almost like the mirror. Imagine if economy is looking at the mirror, banks are that. So if you look at the banking industry's numbers, they reflect the economy very clearly. I think the calendar year that's just gone by has been a very challenging year. No two ways about it. Especially in sectors like unsecured lending. Truly, there have been enough sectors that have got hit, right? Especially the services sector. So banks too will reflect that. Having said which, I think it's also tested the metal and strengthened the metal, right? So what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, kind of a thing. So a lot of our institutions have become much more stronger. It's also helped the larger players in a way because of the sheer ability of the large institutions to invest deeper into technology, right? And allowing a lot of these transactions to happen using digital infra, whether it's on internet, whether it's on mobile app. So it's really helped the large banks. So I would say that COVID's had some, the pandemic has had some positive outcomes as well in terms of consolidation of access to customers at the top end. So I would say that the overall industry, I'm very confident will bounce back. All the macro indicators, I mean, we just saw the GST collections for the country are already indicating that. So I think that 2021 promises a lot, and we will see how it shapes up.
The other question is from Neha. She's asking that I think in the new world, this is post-pandemic, where we are seeing, at least in the branch side of your network, that a lot of customer drop-ins have reduced, and that it's not just reduced, it's significantly reduced the branch walk-ins, right? So they are saying, is there a need of reskilling the operations guys into advisory selling? How will it go? Because now multitasking is the future. That's what it says. So do you think it will happen slowly and slowly, or will the people go back to the branches? Because people are now pretty keen on and savvy on the net banking platform or the mobile banking platform.
Yeah, so I think it's a great question. I think we discussed this partially, I think, in our earlier Q&A. What I would say, look, customers have learned the art of going through a lot of the transactions themselves, right, through internet or mobile app. But having said which, there are a lot of decisions that they want to make after a discussion with a seasoned banker, right? And I think for all those conversations, it could be a choice on a simple thing like whether they should take a personal loan, right? What would be the right rate? What should be the right tenor for that loan? Planning their cash flows. A lot of customers still prefer to come to a physical branch and have that dialogue, right? So I think the branch of the future is also evolving, right? The earlier branch was being used 20 years ago or 30 years ago as a pure cash vending machine, right? People would stand in queues to withdraw cash, right? ATMs were very nascent in India, and people would walk in for making demand drafts, stand in queues, take a token. I mean, that used to be the era then. But what's changing now is that customers want to talk to a seasoned banker, a seasoned financial professional to help them make choices. Whether it's in investments, whether it is in taking a credit card, which gives them the rewards, for example, or whatever be the. I think what I would believe is that customers, and we are a very social country. People like talking, meeting people. We like to have a cup of tea with our bankers. So I think people like doing that. So I don't think it's going to change. That aspect is going to change. Yes, the content of the discussion is going to change.
Yeah.
Into helping make the right product choices, right?
Sure.
With the information that they have. So that's how it's going to evolve, and therefore it's going to be that much more enriching for the person who's handling that.
Again, if I may just take one last question, Satish, is what is the additional skill that was needed for relationship manager during this pandemic? So people are asking, while yes, we have seen people talking about and selling more, and while we have seen a great traction on an insurance side of it, health insurance and life insurance getting so because people were a little afraid, all that awareness has been created. Now, was there any specific need or skills which RMs developed themselves, or is it like just it was more of a pull factor from customer and they just went ahead and did this thing?
Oh, I would say there are some soft skills that were tested, particularly, which is I think the attribute of empathy. I think every family had their own story, had their own challenge. So it was very important that whether they were customer service officers at the branch or the relationship managers at the branch, they listened keenly to whatever requirements customers had. So very important. Also, you saw how volatile the equity market was, for example, right? And a lot of people, if they were not of the right temperament as customers, would have made the mistake of exiting the market when the market was down in March, towards the end of March, right? So I think one of so and which is exactly a great example of why we need good bankers to kind of tell them that look, or financial partners to kind of tell them that look, uh, uh, markets have proven time and time again, if you study the history books of financial markets, that they always come back, right? And the world will continue, right? The sun will continue to rise from the east and so on. So you've got to have that acumen, right? The market data shows that. And end of the day, for example, if you're owning a stock, you're owning a business. That business may have shuttered its shutters momentarily, but the capital assets, the people, the marketplace exists, right? It was just a temporary setback, and a lot of businesses are making very, very strong comebacks. So I think just to be able to handhold customers during this volatility itself was a very powerful value creator. And customers who chose to leverage our RMs and stayed firm and a believer in the India story, they are, I'm sure, very happy with the way the markets are almost, the Sensex is almost nearing 50,000.
Yeah. I don't know. While I would want to have a separate chat on Sensex with you specifically because I don't know when is it gonna stop. But we will stop here. And thank you so much, Satish. It was lovely pleasure talking to you as always. We have got a lot of these queries, and while the questions keep on coming, but then I think we have to take a hard stop. Here, thank you so much, Satish, once again. And on that note, I would want to call upon Yogesh to take it forward from here. Thank you, Satish. Thanks.
Thanks, Gaurav. Thanks, Yogesh. And my best wishes to the entire NIIT team. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you so much. Okay, and that's how it is. I think people are looking forward for more questions, and which is why we are still here. Yeah. Hi, Prateek.
Thank you. Thanks, Gaurav. That was a very enriching session with Satish, and thank you for the perspective, Satish. I'm sure that we all, as an audience, would have gained immensely from your expertise. Thank you so much, Gaurav, and thank you, Satish.